Hi, what is up, darlings? It is me, Bodichi, and welcome back to the Unveiling Evil Nighttime podcast. Wow, it's been a while. It's been over a year, but I am really, really happy to be back. And I don't want to spend too long talking, but just know all is well. We are back to normal. But I've missed you guys. Hope you guys have missed me too. And we're just going to get straight into the video because where I've been isn't really that important. But also, if you guys don't mind, please do like today's video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, case suggestions are back open. Leave a comment down below, share the video, so on and so forth. Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be back. So anyways, on with the show. Good evening and welcome back to Unveiling Evil, the Nighttime podcast with me, Bodichu. So just to remind everybody before we get into the actual episode today, also, this is a nighttime podcast, so that means basically it's just a blank screen, me talking. It is designed like this, so if you're watching and thinking, why is there no pictures, why is there no clips, why is it just a black screen, don't worry, it is designed that way. On with the show. And we are on episode 8, and today we are going to be covering the case of Tara Calico. Tara went missing in Berlin, New Mexico on the 20th of September 1988. It's highly suspected that she was abducted, and she was 19 years old at the time of her abduction/disappearance. She's American. Physically, she was in great shape. She was very physically active. She was an athlete. Tara also had a part-time occupational job at a bank. And for 19 years old, she's actually got more potential than most. She's seemingly very driven, motivated, she's focused. She's clearly very intelligent. It's not every day that a 19-year-old, impressionable young woman gets such a good job, such as working in a bank, or amazing grades like Tara did, or was an all-round, just a good person at everything that she did, and she tried her best with everything she did. And that stood out to people. As well as being a college student, she was also very busy, and she was very good at time management and division. I guess that is the shame in this case, really, because it's the potential that is lost, as well as most cases with a missing or murdered person, or those who just never return home. Not only is it a loss of potential, but it's also a loss of that physical person. They aren't actually there anymore, alongside their potential. Nor do you get to hear that person's voice or see that person anymore or converse with that person, or that person isn't a part of your everyday life or you're engaging with that person. Just completely gone. A future full of hope, dreams, aspirations, a future that would never be seen for most. Tara is from a small, close community of people who all came together. They were a close community anyway, but more so they came together when Tara actually went missing and afterwards, and they came together for community support to help raise awareness on Tara's case. And as well as the community sign as well to show that they want to bring Tara home also. She's one of theirs, and therefore they look out for those, they want to support those, they want to bring those home, they're hoping for the best. They come together, a community that does in fact unite, which when we see happen is actually quite powerful. Think of cases like the Soham killer, when the community came together for, or the Philpott case, or even the Mitchell Quay case, for example. There's a whole bunch of cases like that. When the community comes together, I think that's very telling, and that's very showing that there are a lot more good people in the world than there are bad. 1989, the 15th of June. A Polaroid photograph is discovered in the parking lot of a store located in Port St. Joe, Florida. It was found by a woman who had originally found the photograph actually face down, meaning that in order to actually see the photograph, she would have to turn it upside down, as with most Polaroids. This photo consisted of a young adult woman and a young male child. Both were bound by ropes, and they were also gagged by duct tape, alongside what is confirmed to have been at the time Tara's favourite book, which was titled My Sweet Audrina. The young woman in the photograph bears similarities to Tara's physicalities. For example, the woman bears a scar on her leg, and Tara had actually got a scar on her leg from a car crash earlier in life. The hair colour and texture was also similar to Tara Calico's. The woman's facial structure. Although the girl in the photograph does in fact look thinner and more emaciated, the woman prior to who discovered the photo stated she'd found it in the parking lot space in which prior a man with a moustache in his 30s driving a white windowless Toyota cargo van was seen. and that this photo had actually dropped out of his car, and shortly thereafter she'd stumbled across it when she'd gone to check that area out because she'd become suspicious of this man, and she'd then found the actual Polaroid photo. Now, this Polaroid photo is often associated with the actual start of Tara's case, but this is actually false. Although the Polaroid does play a pivotal part in this case, but it wasn't the focus of the investigation. I mention this because a lot of people actually do tend to have tunnel vision for the photos and ignore what actual police and investigating services compiled understanding this case, or in order to get a more thorough and accurate description of Tara Calico's missing persons case, and a timeline, and as well as necessary information that is needed to have a general all-around understanding of the case at hand. It was actually Tara's stepfather who contacted the police. That's how this whole situation started, in respect to the police and investigating services obviously getting involved with this case and it actually becoming a case. Police and investigating services did attempt to put up roadblocks to try and capture the abductor. However, these attempts were unsuccessful. The man who was driving managed to avoid capture and exposure. Upon further investigation, it was determined that the Polaroid photograph was taken after 1989, meaning the girl in the photograph could very much be missing Tara Calico. Scotland Yard even gave the case their best shot, but to no prevail. They did, however, conclude upon their own analysis that it was Tara in the photograph. However, some parties who have conducted their own analysis disagree. For example, the FBI resulted in an inconclusive analysis and a disagreement to the woman in the photo being Tara Calico, and this came from the analysis of the Los Alamos National Laboratory. Also to mention, the young boy in the Polaroid photograph that was alongside this girl, who is believed to be Tara, was also for many years thought to be a young boy who was later found dead. It was believed that this young boy had died from, he got lost in the forest or some kind of woodland, died from exposure. This boy in the photograph alongside this woman haven't officially 100% been confirmed identity-wise. Also, there have been thought to be two more possible Polaroid photos of missing Tara Calico, in which have come to the surface throughout the years. Montecito, California. A Polaroid photograph located close to a construction site depicted a blurred young woman taped and bound up very much in resemblance to the original Polaroid photograph. Seen in the background of this photograph was a fabric of a stripe pattern and a blue colour in the background, must have been taken upon later determination after June 1989. The second Polaroid photograph contains again a bound woman sat beside a man on an Amtrak train. It was thought that the photograph had been taken after February 1990. I'm just going to interrupt here and give my opinion on the third suspected Polaroid picture where she sat with the man on the train. Now, take this as a grain of salt. This is just my opinion. But I do think it is more of a stage photo. It's done in a mocking way. Doesn't quite look serious. Like, if you take the time to really analyse what's going on in the picture, the expressions on the faces, the settings, how the bones and ties are, it just seems a very staged picture. I just find it inauthentic myself, but it's worth including. 19-year-old Tara Calico has been missing for over 35 years now, and is still currently missing. Tara's case is widely known amongst true crime sleuths, and has been covered by the likes of 48 Hours, America's Most Wanted, A Current Affair, and The Oprah Winfrey Show, just to name a few. It was reported that Tara had left her residence at around 9:30 a.m. that Tuesday, which would have been September the 20th, 1988. Part of Tara's daily regimen was to participate in bike riding along a road very familiar to Tara and family, a road often frequented. Known as the New Mexico State Road 47, typically Tara would be alongside the accompaniment of her mother when actively on these bike rides, which, again, to stress for important reasons, bike riding was an almost daily activity religiously enjoyed by young Tara. Because let's not forget, she's an athlete. She's also known to be very physically active. So she's clearly into her sports and physical health and keeping active and exercise and, you know, very physical activities. On the day Tara Calico went missing, her mother actually did not attend a bike ride with her. Due to an ever-growing suspicion that they were being watched and a continuous feeling of unease, specifically from a motorist that they had seen, specifically the mum had seen the motorist and started to become uneasy over time. And the day her daughter went missing had decided, you know what, I'm not going to go out today. It's I just don't have a good feeling. I'd rather stay home. Tara had been advised as a suggestion to carry mace by her mother as a form of protection and for her own safety. However, Tara did, by her own choice, decide to not herself. She decided not to arm herself, and she thought the idea was a little bit silly, and her mum was being a little bit ridiculous. And she's like, "Really, mum?" But to be honest, you don't really think until you're an adult, do you? Like, even though Tara's 19, you don't really think until you're an adult, talking like, God, I'm in my mid-late 20s now, mid-20s, and I'm just now becoming an adult mentality where you really do start taking in safety, things around you, you know what I mean? How crazy the world really is. And I guess when you're young, even when you pass the age of 18, just because legally you're an adult, or in some places 21 you're an adult, that doesn't mean that you're of an adult mentality. You don't often think of the dangers of things, of safety, of things that could go wrong. You know, crazy people in the world, people that don't have good intentions in the world. Not everybody is a good person, has good intentions, has values, has morals, wants the best for you. And often young people are very sheltered, and they don't realise just how sheltered they are. Not that that's a bad thing, but we should prepare our children more and, sit them down and do talks like stranger danger and making yourself safe, and, you know what I mean, always letting someone know where you are, so on and so forth. Safety precautions. Prior to setting off on her bike ride, around 9:30 just before, Tara did mention to her mother that if she wasn't to return home by noon, could she please come and pick her up at some point along the road that she would be cycling down, the New Mexico Road, State 47. As Tara, who was in a relationship at the time, had arranged a tennis date with her boyfriend, and that was to take place at 12:30 in the morning, just before lunch, that same day. And also, it's the 80s, Tara. You know, it's not like a mum can send her a text message on an iPhone and say, you know, where are you, hon? You know what I mean? Or it's not like a mum, it's the 1980s, she can't drop a location to them. You know, it's different time, a completely different time. So the only way that her mother knew where to pick Tara up was along the road that she would be cycling on at what time, and kind of work from there, really. Tara had been witnessed cycling along the New Mexico State Road 47 by several witnesses. This verifies that she was in fact seen on the road, so she was on the road. It wasn't like she went missing before she started cycling or she never made it to the road. We know that she was definitely there. But she was abducted at some point, because you don't just disappear into thin air. And there's no eyewitnesses that saw specifically Tara Calico being abducted, or the scene of an abduction, or a struggle, or anything suspicious. Anything at all. And we know that people don't just disappear into thin air. They don't just fall down holes in the middle of roads, and you know what I mean. She's got to be somewhere. Somebody's got to have seen something. Several of these witnesses did in fact recall seeing the same vehicle. This vehicle was a pickup truck that was of a light colour, with a camper shell trailing close behind Tara Calico. Most people who are familiar with this case do lean more towards the belief that the car was potentially that of a Ford 1953 or very similar. Although not 100% confirmed, the car was believed to have had New Mexico plate license. When Tara actually failed to return home around the specified time, or even at all for that matter, her mother sets off along New Mexico State Road 47, failing to locate her daughter successfully. Shortly thereafter, police and investigating services were contacted. Broken and destroyed pieces of a Sony Walkman alongside a cassette tape were located along New Mexico State Road 47. Tyra's mother hypothesized that perhaps her daughter may have possibly thrown her own Sony Walkman, because she did own one, and potentially of a moving vehicle in order to help in the assistance of a clue. And even if it was a clue, it's a very smart idea for such a young woman to think of, like to throw your cassette player and your Sony Walkman out and use the broken pieces as like a paper trail. That's actually a smart idea. Also, on the day of the vanishing, worth mentioning, Tara wasn't actually using her actual bicycle, she was using her mother's bicycle. No actual direct physical evidence was located in the initial searches besides the broken pieces of the Sony Walkman and the cassette player, which were later ruled out, as well as evidence that didn't exist, such as a pink bag, alleged underwear with Tara's initials on, and even written in form. So they had the actual physical underwear with her initials on, and it was written down in evidence form, but there was no physical production of these underwear ever with the initials on. Friends and family, close ones to Tara Calico, have been interviewed throughout the years, and all have been cooperative. News footage can be found of the news stations and channels alongside the crews covering the case from as early as 5 days after she vanished. A judge formally declared Tara Calico legally dead officially as of 1998, ruled a homicide. Although there was no body, she was actually legally pronounced dead, and although that we don't actually know if she's dead or alive, but in legal terms she is classed as deceased by homicide, which takes us on to a hypothesis section. As baffling as this case is, some of the hypotheses and theories and conspiracies are just as baffling. Hypothesis 1. Tara had been hit by a vehicle driven by by two young minors. They were underage. The crime was actually later covered up, and any evidence of a hit and run was also covered up alongside maybe a crash scene. Everything was covered up. And these two boys were allegedly known to Tara. This information was actually brought to light in 2008 by the sheriff of Valencia County, also claiming to know the identities of those involved. For reasons unknown, the sheriff didn't release the evidence or compiling information that he allegedly has proving this claim. Therefore, I do feel inclined to include this as a hypothesis rather than a fact due to no actual facts being substantiated, and I do believe that this is as far as possible. Even if the source is the sheriff, I do suggest just thinking about it. The sheriff also included the fact that without a body, prosecution or any real justice is slim to none. Which is true, but again, I'm questioning, if you have allegedly the proof, why not publish it? And the sheriff's story here, wouldn't you want to prove it if you had proof? Why are you holding back? If we're taking what the sheriff says at face value. I personally can't help but question that. I'm also not the only person that has picked up this, criticised this, made this a point. Calico's own stepfather, along with many a true crime buffs and sleuths, have only pointed this out and agreed with this more and made this more of a point. We've brung it up more. Because if you had proof of who killed this girl, why wouldn't you publicise it? Why wouldn't you capture the killers, even if you had, nobody? You're saying you've got proof. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. The cases aren't as cutthroat as they seem sometimes. It's not as straight to the point. A reinvestigation into the disappearance/abduction of Tara Calico was formed, consisting of a 6-person task force. This was established in October 2013. However, no arrests have been made since the opening of the reinvestigation. Although the case does and will remain open for the foreseeable future, and rightly so, the team was also handpicked. The case still remains cold, with no actual solid suspects identified as of yet. A $20,000 reward in compliance and exchange for information with police and investigating services was put out by the FBI on the 1st of October 2013. However, this reward still remains unclaimed. Valencia City Sheriff's Department made a formal public statement announcement on which they had successfully identified a potential lead in this case decades after its occurrence. Also, there was a sealed warrant for an unknown/undisclosed residence that was on private grounds within the Valencia City area. No further details were made public. Until July 13th, 2023, a pivotal breakthrough in the disappearance/abduction made by the Valencia City Sheriff's Department, law enforcement. Quote, law enforcement believes there are substantial evidence in connection to this investigation, submitted to the District Attorney's Office for a review, and possible charges, identities, and other information is sealed by means of a court order. Hypothesis 2. Tara was killed by a person or persons who had been leaving threatening alleged notes on her vehicle. It's unconfirmed what these notes said, what they consisted of, what their context was, but it is worth mentioning because it is a hypothesis that does pop up, but it is alleged. Hypothesis 3. Tara Calico was a victim of the serial killer/abductor, or perhaps a trafficker, possible victim to the toy box killer. The toy box killer has also an eerie resemblance to the sketch publicised of the man from the initial Polaroid photo finding. When the woman found the photograph outside the convenience store, she gave a description of the man and they sketched it out. He looked very similar, the toy box killer, to that sketch. So it's worth taking into consideration. Hypothesis 4. Tara was abducted in a false case of identity or perhaps confusion due to Tara choosing to take her mother's back that day instead of her own, meaning that maybe the kidnapper or kidnappers/killers or whoever they may be, who knows, let's just say alleged abductors for now, allegedly, maybe they thought Tara was her mother and they were actually out to kidnap her mother that day. But instead, in confusion, we're thinking that Tara was on her mother's back that day. Instead of her mother being on the back that day, they took Tara instead, not realising till later, and it obviously being too late to give Tara back, probably. Hypothesis 5. There are reportedly over a dozen suspects in this case, which could easily add to over a dozen more conclusions to this hypothesis. Yet a lot of the information we aren't privy to and we don't know yet. It isn't publicly available within the public domain or to the public. And finally, hypothesis 6. Tara Calico was killed to keep quiet about possibly seeing or knowing of a drug ring that have been confirmed to have been running close to the area in which the abduction was believed to have occurred. A car with a suitcase was found. Also, wires were found in this abandoned car. It resembled someone that had been tied up, possibly linked to Tara. It's unknown. But there was an active drug gang in that area at the time. And obviously, if Tara's cycling up and down the main road on a daily basis almost, she's going to be, seen by these people. So maybe they thought, oh, she's here every day. Maybe she's seen a bit too much. Who knows? And that concludes today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It feels great to be back. And this has been Unveiling Evil, episode 8, The Case of Tara Calico. If you have made it this far to the video, thank you so much for watching. It is highly appreciated. I love you all so much. I've also started a second channel. You can just type in Bodichu on YouTube and I should come up. My TikTok is at Bodichu if you guys are interested. My Snapchat is at Suhabodi. And join us next time to see who we're going to be unveiling the evil of. I've been Bodichu and thank you for watching.